Broadcasting live worldwide.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the studios in the wrestling capital of the South, it's another terrific episode of The BENGEBUSTER Show. Please welcome your host, Tony Binge.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The BENGEBUSTER Show as we are coming to you right here live in the studios of the wrestling capital of the South, the Queen City, Charlotte. And before we get started, I got to bring on my co-host, cohort, and co-conspirator. I'm talking about Playboy Chris Plano. Chris, what is going on?
Woo! Terrific, Tony. Thank you for having me back. It's another week here. I'm so excited about tonight's show. We're talking rock and roll. We're talking wrestling. And, boy, we are rolling in 2022, and I'm excited about tonight's episode.
Man, it's going to be great. We're going to be talking from all angles with wrestling, rock and roll, and California. Man, we're going to hit it all tonight. But man, Chris, before we get into the podcast, last week, big barn burner announcement: Cody Rhodes became a free agent, walked out of AEW. That was the big news last week.
Yeah, that was the big news. Cody Rhodes leaving AEW Wrestling and going back to WWE, and it was huge news. It rocked the professional wrestling landscape as we know it. Coming off of that, we've even heard some other stories online. I'm trying to figure out what to believe, what to not believe, what's true, what's not true. And, I've heard Tony Khan with AEW has some big announcements coming out, and God only knows what Vince McMahon has up his sleeve, but there's a lot going on, I would say, outside of the ring in the professional wrestling landscape today.
Yes. I agree. And then today I saw I was looking through Facebook, and I don't want to say who posted this, but I sent the picture to you, Chris. Looks like the Nature Boy is still out there, hot and getting it going. 72 years old and still pulling them in, man. I believe I saw pictures of him and a rather good-looking blonde out in my favorite neck of the woods. I'm talking about L.A. He was out there last week, and pictures are coming up on the web. Him and this blonde, and the blonde's taking good care of him, making sure he's got his mask on, his shirt's buttoned up good, and he's ready to get on the airplane. Who knows who that is? There's a lot of speculation, but I think at this point in time, Ric Flair's life, he's in his 70s, and man, he is just enjoying retirement. He's going out and doing his meet and greets. He's doing it all. And man, when I get to be his age, I want to be doing the same thing. I'm gonna be driving my Donzi across the water there in Florida and soaking up sunshine and just living the best life I can live. And that's exactly what Ric Flair's doing right now.
Tony, the Nature Boy, he ages like a fine wine when I tell you. I mean, the man always has something up his sleeve. And he shocked the wrestling world again this week, again, outside of the ring again. Social media, it's power. It's not saying, I was their power play, but it's power. It gets the word out. And, hey, if the Nature Boy at 72, he's still kicking. And, Tony, let me tell you right now, the Nature Boy can still give it to half of these guys working in the ring today at his age.
Without a doubt. I mean, he's got, we've said this a bunch of times, but he's got more talent in his pinky than most people have, across the board,
Right. I mean, I listen, if it was a 5-minute match, I'm taking Nate all day.
Oh, without a doubt.
60-minute match, okay, with some young guns, no, we know that's not happening, but he could pull probably a few moves on these guys and catch them off guard.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. No doubt in my mind, Ric Flair was, and always will be the man.
Absolutely.
And speaking of Ric Flair, this week is the anniversary of Ric Flair debuting that beautiful big gold belt. Right now, I've got a clip of him introducing that belt. Let's check this out right now.
You see, when your name is Ric Flair and you represent the National Wrestling Alliance and you just happen to work for Jim Crockett Promotions, then every once in a while, come on over here, David, the Crockett's dig down in their pockets to show some appreciation for what a real champion should be toting around. And you see, the whole country's heard about it. Now they're going to have a chance to see it. And I'm talking about $40,000 of 24-karat gold, silver, diamonds, and rubies with my name written on the front of it. That's right. Solid gold. The World Heavyweight Championship belt. Worn, owned, operated, and manipulated by yours truly. The World's Heavyweight Wrestling Champion. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not, I'm custom made. Whether you like it or not, I'm your world champion. And you know, you hear so much now around the world about everybody wanting to be the world champion that I just like to take a time out of my schedule to come out here periodically and show you all what the world champion's all about.
There it is, Chris. I'm telling you, man. He was out there on fire, debuting that big, beautiful belt.
I mean, Tony, Ric Flair, not only was he portraying the big belt to the fans, but to the ladies and to Jim Crockett Promotions, showing their appreciation. And that was big for him.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was big for the NWA.
Huge. It was huge, for sure.
Like, this is the precedence. This is the excellence in professional, not sports entertainment. This is the excellence in professional wrestling. I mean, everyone knows the WWF World Heavyweight Championship was out there. We all know that. But this was the excellence. When you have this around your waist, you're the best.
And Chris, I remember very, very vividly watching that on television. And incidentally, that night that he showed it on television, that night they were in Greensboro, and he defended that belt against Ron Garvin. And I'll never forget when he took it off and handed it to Tommy Young. Tommy Young held it in his hands for like 10 seconds, staring at it before he lifted it up above his head to show it to the people. And I was like, man, that's one beautiful belt. And incidentally, I'm lucky enough now, I have one here in my studio, a replica. Now, it's not the one made by Charles Crimrine, but I do have one made by Reggie Parks, and it's right here in my right here in my studio. And man, I was going to, I've got somebody right now making a nameplate for it for me, and so I hope to have that here in the next few weeks. And then once I get that, I'll get that uploaded to our Facebook page for all the fans to see.
Absolutely.
But later on in the podcast, we're going to be talking about the first time Ric Flair lost that belt. I'm sorry, the second time he lost the big gold belt to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in 1989. He lost it 1 year prior for the first time to Ron Garvin, but it seemed like when he dropped the belt to Steamboat, it meant a whole lot more than when he dropped it to Garvin. And we're going to be talking about that later on in the podcast. But right now we're going to be switching gears. And Chris, this past week you went and attended. It's the Eagles Hotel California tour, and right now I've got a quick little commercial ad for this tour, and then when we come back, fans, we're going to be talking to Chris about his experience seeing the Eagles live here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
The Eagles Hotel California Tour.
Welcome to live in concert with a full orchestra. Performing their iconic album, Hotel California, beginning to end, plus a greatest hits set. The Eagles, Nationwide Arena, April 19th. Get tickets now at livenation.com.
All right, fans, we are back here on the Binge Buster Show with the solo in the background, Hotel California.
Oh.
Chris, talk to us, man. Tell us how great that show was.
Tony, Monday night, Charlotte, North Carolina, uptown Charlotte, downtown Charlotte was on fire. The Eagles were in town. It was their second stop on the 2022 tour. They were in Savannah, Georgia, 2 nights earlier, kicking it off right into Charlotte. And Don Henley, Timothy B. Smith, Joe Walsh, Vince Gill. And actually, there was someone substituting for Glenn Fry's son. He was sick that Monday night. That's okay. It was like they didn't skip a beat. Tony, they hit the stage. They ripped into Hotel California and played the album front to back. That was the first 9 songs.
Oh, wow.
And they ripped into Hotel California like we were listening to the album. And then the funny thing was, after they ripped into Hotel California, Don Henley gets up on the stage and now Tony, Don Henley, Joe Walsh, they're all 74 years old. Couple more years older than Flair.
Right.
Don Henley goes, after we played Hotel California, they got a standing ovation. They played the whole album front to back.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then Henley comes on stage up to the microphone and goes, "Oh, we're just getting warmed up. We're going to play some other songs we think you might know after the break."
Wow.
The whole place went crazy. They're like, "We're going to play the greatest set split." They played the greatest set splits.
So
they played everything.
So you're telling me these 70-year-old men play a whole album, take a break, and come back and play more greatest hits? Man, that I'm telling you, Chris, that right there sounds like anybody that bought a ticket to that show got more than the money's worth.
Well, Tony, I looked at my watch, and you know me, I'm a clock watcher. You know me. So the Hotel California album is only 9 songs. They came out, they ripped through the 9 songs, and they didn't cut any of them off. They played them in their entirety.
Nice.
Then the whole set list was an additional 19 songs.
Wow.
Was the greatest hits.
That is great.
And they took about a 20-minute break, and so they hit the stage at so something I want to say. I never seen this before at the Spectrum Center. We all know, 11 o'clock is curfew, right?
Right.
Pretty much. The Eagles hit the stage at 8:18. I looked at my watch. Is when they were walking on the stage. They ripped into Hotel California.
Mm-hmm.
They left the stage at 11:20.
Wow, that is amazing.
They were going past 11 o'clock, which I've never seen in a long time.
Now,
in Charlotte.
Wow, that's really good. Now, who opened up for them? Was there anybody opening it, or was it just
there
them?
was no opening band? It was them all night.
Wow, that is great.
And honestly, they played. It was so odd because they played the Hotel California. And listen, they opened up with Hotel California, New Kid in Town, Life in the Fast Lane, Wasted Time, Victim of Love, and then the other songs were kind of a little off. But it was like the guy goes, "We're just warming up."
That's amazing.
And the whole place went crazy. But Joe Walsh did say this. Joe Walsh did play Life's Been Good. But he goes, "I'm 74. He goes, "You guys got to help me." He goes, "Because I'm feeling it up here." He's like, but 74, they're still belting it out, man. And no one left disappointed. Tony, I got to almost think walking out of the arena, because Don Henley said, right before the last song, and he played a couple of his solos, but they did end with the encore was Rocky Mountain Way, Desperado, The Boys of Summer, which was a Henley song.
Yeah.
But then they did play Best of My Love was the last song. But before that, Don Henley did say, he goes, if we don't come by this way again, he goes, we thank you for all the support over the decades.
Wow.
So it kind of left the door. You don't know. I think it almost kind of left it half shut by the way he said it.
This is what it sounds like to me, for sure.
I mean, they're all 74. I mean, Vince Gill's much younger, but listen, he's not an original member.
No,
and
but
we all know about Glenn Fry.
Yeah, but man,
I mean,
let's talk about
mm-hmm.
Vince Gill for a second. That guy,
Mm-hmm.
man, in the '90s, he blasted off some great country hits, but if you know, probably one of the most amazing performances I've ever witnessed from him was when he and Carrie Underwood performed. I believe it was at the Country Music Awards, but she sang an edition, her
mm-hmm.
rendition of "How Great Thou Art," and of course, that's a gospel song. And but Vince played the guitar in that song, played a solo, and dude, they got a standing ovation from people,
mm-hmm.
Like some of the bigger stars in country and rock. Man, they got a standing ovation, and Carrie was very emotional. But yeah, Vince is a great guitar player, and I think he's a great addition to Eagles.
Yeah, and if I could say something, listen, Vince Gill was up there. He did his thing, but didn't ask for any praise, didn't ask for any attention. He was just up there, left side of the stage, and it was like he was just another player in the band. I mean, he wasn't trying to have this like blinking sign over him, I'm Vince Gill, cheer for me.
Right.
And I'm playing with the other guys in the band, and he did his thing. He did sing a couple of songs. I will say Timothy B. Schmidt was on fire with I Can't Tell You Why in one of these nights. I mean, the place was just going.
I bet.
Absolutely. I mean, when he hit the string for one of these nights, the place was going like, okay. Like it was a great evening of music. And, God, I mean, what can you say about the band? I mean, I think they were just humbled to be there. Right. I might think it might be I don't know. I mean, 74? All of them? I don't know. It might be the last time they come.
I was going to
through.
say, you got to almost think that's the last hurrah.
Right. And I'm just going off what Don Henley said before the last song.
Yeah.
If you don't see us cut through again this way, he said, humbly, thank you for your support over the decades, and we thank you. And it was interesting.
Yeah.
I'm
sure it was a great show. But being, I know it was a great show, but to me, Glenn Fry, man, he was like, his voice and the way he played was just like amazing. But let's stop for a minute and think about how, a lot of people may not think about the Eagles being such a great band, but think about this for a minute. Every single person in the original lineup of the Eagles, every one of them done a solo gig, and even their solo gigs were just as big or bigger than the Eagles.
Right.
So I know a lot of times people will be in a band and then they'll break off for a little bit and go do solo stuff, and the solo stuff bottoms out. But no one in the Eagles had that happen to. I mean, look at Glenn Fry in the '80s, '85 in particular. When he came out with the song "The Heat Is On," man, I remember being in elementary school and I hear that song, man, I couldn't stand still. I love that song so well, and I still to this day like that. And then of course he had another big hit, "In the City." So Glenn had kind of like that Miami Vice feel towards a lot of his songs. And then Don Henley, you can't go wrong there. I mean, he had a ton of hits in the '90s. So
Right.
all the guys have been very successful, and I feel like when you go see the Eagles play, you're really seeing a professional band.
Oh, you absolutely are. And they did play Don Henley, The Boys of Summer, which was one of his solo songs. And they didn't play Sunset Grill. I have seen Don Henley play Sunset Grill in prior Eagles tours. They didn't play it this time. They did play Joe Walsh's couple of songs. They did play In the City, and they did give homage very quickly, I'm going to say, to Glenn Frey. You know, I kind of wonder as a band, you know, they still want to pay homage, but I think they're also still struggling a little bit at, like, how much attention do we give this?
Right.
They gave it a lot of attention on the prior tour when Glenn passed away, and they immediately went out that following year. So they did pay homage, and the people applauded accordingly, but it was definitely a lot less time than when I saw them prior when they came through several years ago.
Right, yeah, I'm sure.
So I get it. And it's probably tough for everyone. I mean, you know, up there, you know, to do this. But, hey, listen, 74 years old, and they jammed out 28 songs in 3 hours.
Yeah, you definitely can't. Yeah,
on a Monday night.
You can't say much about that. That's great. I just hate that I didn't know they were coming, because I would have I would have gladly, you know, came down there with you.
And hey, 15,000 strong on a Monday night.
Yeah,
and they were there.
Yeah.
15,000, and I don't know, Tony. I think they maybe might do something else in the future, but maybe not. I mean, I don't know. You're talking guys 75 years old going on. It's like, all right, what are we doing here, guys?
Definitely makes it a little difficult.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like the Kiss tour right now. You know, Paul and Gene are not too far behind the Eagles in age,
right? And
you know, you always question, like, how many more tours are they going to do before they say, okay, we're done.
Right.
But I'm happy. I'm excited for all of them, and I'm glad that you got to witness and be there for the Eagles there in Charlotte. And man, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it was an opportunity. We went downtown, and I said, I got to snag a couple of tickets here because this could be the last time.
Yeah.
And if not, listen, I saw them play the whole Hotel California set album from front to back because they would never play some of those songs ever in concert.
Right. And
period.
And to you know, to know that and to feel that, you definitely, you can't beat it because that's right. You know, that's, like you said, you may never see him again. So, I'm definitely glad that you got to take that opportunity.
Yeah,
to go down there.
There were legit 3 songs off of that album that they would never ever play in concert today.
Mm-hmm.
That I heard them play for the first time ever. So it shows me, you know, the creativity and the artistry of the band.
Yeah, and how important it was to them to play, you know, as what they call deep cuts, deep tracks, and for them to pull that out, that's so amazing.
Right. So it was fun. It was an opportunity. I jumped on it, and hey, but Tony, 2022, and as I was telling the person I was with, this is going to be the year all the bands are coming out.
Oh yeah,
this is it.
I mean,
this is just this. We're just scrapping.
Everybody,
we're just scraping the iceberg.
Listen, everybody's been shut down, shut up for like 2 years, and everybody's just ready to cut loose. I know I am. You know, as I talked about last week on the podcast, you know, and we started planning it right there on the podcast, taking a trip out to L.A. and see Motley Crue play. And, you know, I mentioned, you know, we're going to go see Motley Crue play here in Charlotte, but you haven't seen the Crue play if you hadn't seen them play in L.A. because, man, they rock it out. And speaking of L.A., Chris, the last time, you know, last week was on the podcast, guys talking, I wanna touch on this for a minute because I just got to get this off my chest, and I want to share it with you and the listeners. Of course, you already know most of it, but I had this beautiful house booked in the Hollywood Hills. My neighbors were going to be Justin Timberlake on one side of me. On the other side of me, of course, I don't really care much about Justin Timberlake, but whatever. And on the other side, I was told that Katy Perry lived on the other side of the hill. Excuse me, of the hill. And but once we talked about going to see Motley Crue, I thought, you know what? I'm going to see if I can change my dates of the house, because originally I had the house booked in June. So I had originally. Had it booked for 7 days. So I decided if you and I are going to go out there, we talked about 5 days. So I'm like, okay, I'll shave 2 days off. Okay. So I send, on the little website where I had the house booked, I send the lady an email. I'm like, hey, I would like to change my dates to this. Can we do that? And she's like, of course, no worries. I can make that happen for you. And she's like, I'm going to send you a little refund, because, you're staying less days. I'm like, okay, cool, thank you. So then she sends out the new charges, and dude, even though she sent me a refund, she still charged me. She charged me more. She sends me a refund, but yet then she tells me that when I come out there and pay the last payment, it was still going to be the same amount that if I was staying for 7 days. And I'm like, wait a minute, this ain't right. So I start looking, and I question her. I'm like, well, what's the nightly charge? And it was like $225 a night was what she was charging, right, for this house, which is worth it. You know, it's got 2 bedrooms, a pool, hot tub. I mean, dude, if you stay in this house, we would be living like rock stars. The bedroom, the master bedroom, has a patio. You open up, and when you open up, all you see is the big Hollywood sign. You look to the right, and you see downtown L.A. It's beautiful, right? I was excited about that. But then I start seeing that, you know, I'm still less days paying the same amount of money. It didn't make sense to me. So I questioned her about it, and she gets a little pissed off at me because I'm questioning her. But I'm like, okay, how is it that I'm staying less days but paying you the same amount of money? Even though you refunded me, I still got to send it right back to you. It's the same amount of money that I would be paying for 7 days. And of course, she tried to put the blame on the rental company. So I ended up just canceling the house altogether. So now I'm in the process now of trying to find a new place, which I know I can, no problem. LA is ready for tourists. They're ready for people to come out there, and there's tons of places that we can stay. So whenever you get it made up in your mind, you get everything planned out. I'm gonna book it, and we're gonna have the time of our life down there in Los Angeles, the city of angels.
Absolutely, man, Tony. Dude, you're on it, man, when it comes to California. You are 100% on it. No one's getting nothing by you, man.
Nothing's getting by me when it comes to L.A. I know all the tricks of the trade. I know where to go to get the free stuff, the cheap stuff, and I can get us in places that most people will be like, oh, we can't get in there. Oh, we're getting in there. I'm gonna get us in the. If we go, Chris, we're going in the Rainbow. We're going in the Whiskey. And
Rainbow, Whiskey Go, and we might end up in a couple places that the
never know.
Police might be chasing us.
All I know is it's going to be a good time, regardless if I go by myself, if I go with you, if my daughter decides. It doesn't matter. But this summer, I'm tearing down L.A. It's going to be on, and I can't wait. But yeah, I just wanted to share that because it's like, you know, how do people think people so stupid to think that, okay, I'm changing my dates, I'm shaving off 2 days, but I'm still paying you the same amount of money? Yeah, that don't make sense to me, and that ain't happening. So anyway, so that was my bitch session. So now, Chris, let's move on to the main event of our podcast.
Let's do this.
As we wind this thing down. But as we're going to talk, it's also the Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat met at Wrestle War 89 there in Tennessee, Nashville. So right now I'm going to take you to we're going to take a little commercial break, and we come back, we're going to break down that match and then end this podcast. So we'll be right back right after this. Wrestle War 89 Music City Showdown was the first Wrestle War pay-per-view produced by World Championship Wrestling under the National Wrestling Alliance banner. The event took place on May the 7th, 1989 from the Nashville Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee, with an attendance of 5,200 fans as they came to see the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nature Boy Ric Flair defend the title against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Plus, tons more matches, including for the World Tag Team title. The Varsity Club defends against Eddie Gilbert and Rick Steiner. All this and much more coming up next on the Binge Buster Show. All right, fans, we're back, and Chris, I was planning on talking about the first time that Ric Flair. As I said it wrong earlier, I said Flair losing the belt to Steamboat. What I meant to say is Ric Flair was winning the belt from Steamboat, and that's kind of what happens on this show. But Chris, one of the things that that bothers me about Wrestle War 89 is the fact that the NWA World Heavyweight Championship should be and should always be the main event. But for some reason,
it was not.
It was not the main event. Matter of fact, it wasn't even the semi-main. It was
semi-main. It was right
third out. I don't really know the reason behind that, but I do know that Flair winning the title back from Steamboat was a major a major break there in his career. It's like when Steamboat won the belt and he went on, you thought, well, maybe that was it for Flair's run. But a few months later, he's the champion again.
I mean, yeah, I'm looking at the order of the show right now, Tony. Okay, and I kind of get a little bit about having Mike Rotunda, Steve Williams against the Road Warriors of Paul Ellering for the World Tag Team titles, that there was a major storyline behind that, maybe. But the other match for the U.S. Tag Team titles, I mean, come on.
Right.
Behind Flair and Steamboat, like, for real?
Yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, who booked this? Who put the U.S. Tag Team titles as the main event?
And Flair, Tony, we talk about this all the time, you and I. The Nature Boy walk into the ring with 40 women around them.
Yeah.
Ready to style and profile top floor Marriott Hotel after the show.
Right.
I mean, how can you even put any matches behind that?
Yeah, you can't. You definitely can't.
Win or lose, the guy's got 40 ladies behind him.
40 waiting, and he partied all night, I'm sure. Now, incidentally, we have to bring up this. They ended a feud with Steamboat and started a feud with Terry Funk, because this was the time where Terry Funk was a commentator. At least that's what we thought. And then he comes into the ring to congratulate Flair. And then, of course, he turns on him and drops him on his head. And Flair will tell you that's the first time that anybody was pile driven through a table. And I heard Flair say, Terry said, "Don't worry, Flair, I got this." And and when they did it, Flair said, Terry, I didn't know he was going to do that." And Terry said, "Neither did I." So right. But it drew money. And it did, and it put him in a feud with Terry Funk, and it gave Terry a good last run for the world title. It did. You think about that. In 1989, Flair had a trilogy of matches with two of the greatest of all time, Ricky Steamboat and Terry Funk. I mean, you definitely can't knock the year
and
1989.
Funk was still coming hard in the late 80s. Funk, he was still coming.
Yeah, he sure was. I mean,
you were going to still be in the mat. You were going to.
Yeah.
You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, as the feud went on, Terry Funk almost got him taken off of on TBS when he came out with the plastic bag and put the bag over Flair's head. They almost got kicked off the air for that. But yeah, it was a great time in their Wrestle War 89, and Flair and Steamboat put on another clinic.
I got to say something. I mean, of all the NWA WCW cards, that whether it be pay-per-view, television, or a house show, Flair from the third last main event, I don't think there's many out there.
No, most time he was the main, and like I said,
especially at that era, in that era, year wise, I might be the only one.
Yeah. I agree with you there. It was definitely weird because I remember watching the pay-per-view, and I'd see Flair and Steamboat. Like, okay, that's the last match, and then then I hear Jim Ross say, "We got 2 more matches to go." I'm like, "Wait a minute, what?" I was very confused, but anyway, it turned out to be a pretty decent show. Wasn't the best, but definitely Flair Steamboat put on another clinic for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Flair, Steamboat, they can get in the ring. If it could be in front of 100,000 people, 20,000 people, in an armory, in a high school gym, they're going to rock and roll the place. I mean, everyone knows what the expectation level is, and they're going to bring it back in the day every night. Which makes it, you just don't know in today's profession if that, on a national stage, can the guys bring it? You kind of question it, today versus what, someone like Flair and Steamboat did. If you look at Flair and Dusty, back in the day, it's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, it was. And that was one of Ric Flair's favorite things to do. Is he would his main goal was to make sure he stole the show every night, but Flair always said it was always tough to follow guys like the Rock and Roll, Tully and Iron, Barry Windham and the Midnight Express. So but I think at the end of the night, Flair always came through and was always, always gave you money's worth. And anytime you see Flair and Steamboat or Flair and Funk, you definitely got your money's worth.
Yeah, I mean, and whether it's Flair in singles competition, whether it was in tag, the War Games, whatever the match stipulation was, I think when you looked at an NWA card, I think Flair did everything in his power for Jim Crockett Promotions, for everyone from the top down, that I need to draw the most money off of the heat I can get both in and out of the ring. And listen, Dusty drew money. There's no Dusty and the Road Warriors and Sting. And there were many guys that drew money. And there's no doubt about that. But I think Flair always had the mentality of, listen, I need to do what I need to do to bring the most heat and the most money in no matter what town we're going to. And it worked. It worked during that time. And he was a master at it. It didn't matter who the opponent was.
Right, yeah.
Because everybody wants to see the big dog go down. So that was the mentality, and he played it well. And listen, everyone made money, Tony. Oh. We know this from the top down. I mean,
Yes.
And it was a good formula. It was a good recipe for wrestling at that time, and cable television and pay-per-view and everything. It just worked. And so and for me and you and people that got to see that, we appreciate it because we don't see a whole lot of that today.
Yeah, that's definitely a lost art, and it's past. It just doesn't happen anymore, unfortunately.
No. Now when the WWE comes to town, it's kind of like, well, it's a show. The guys are coming to town. Let's go see them. But it's not a pay-per-view, or it's not Raw. It's when Flair came to town in cities, and we can go through all the cities on the East Coast, Tony.
Oh yeah,
it was on
all day long.
It was on. The world title was on the line, and the people came because they thought someone could win the world title in this town tonight, whether it be Norfolk, Richmond, DC, Atlanta, Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh. I can go on and on, Tony, but that's, I think, the mentality of the fans. The world title could change tonight.
Yeah, at any given time, and so you always wanted to go buy the ticket,
right,
and hopes to see Flair lose the belt, but he always managed to hang on to it.
And I'm going to compare you here, and I'm going to go back to the 80s to a little bit. And I'll even go pre-Hogan here.
Yeah.
In the WWF, when Bob Backlund came to town, and he would come to Connecticut maybe once a year, when he came to town as a WWF champion, it was huge.
Oh, yeah.
It was a once-a-year appearance, the world titles in town, and he might lose it in Hartford or New Haven.
Get your ticket.
He never did, but he was taking on superstar Billy Graham, whoever else was coming at him, at that time, Rick Rude,
mm-hmm.
And then you had Hogan. And, when I used to go when Hogan was the champion, we kind of knew. Hogan would have these opponents, but I was like, oh, well, the title probably not changing. But the title was on the line.
Yep.
Albeit probably not going to lose it, even though I was a teenager then, but you kind of knew. But the thing was, and I think that's what Flair drew down here, was that it could change tonight. Dusty Rhodes could beat him.
Yeah.
Maybe not. And that's what drew the money.
Yep. That drew everybody in. And I can't even tell you how many times that my dad brought me to Greensboro to see Flair defend the belt against somebody.
Right.
Barry Windham, Arn Anderson. Barry Windham, Ron Garvin, Ricky Morton.
Correct.
Let me think who else. Nikita Koloff. I was so lucky as a kid to be able to come to Greensboro. Mm-hmm. And I got to witness there a lot of major things that happened on television happened right there in the Greensboro Coliseum. You go back to the bench press challenge, the Road Warriors and the Powers of Pain. Man, I watched that. I'm like, okay, at first I thought this is boring. I don't care about seeing them lift weights. I want to see them get in the ring and fight. But little did I know, any second, what they were doing, they were building the match. From that bench press contest, and the next thing you know, whenever you thought, okay, the Road Warriors are getting ready to bench press 700 pounds, boom, out of nowhere, the Powers of Pain attack them, and they're not able to show the people exactly how strong they really were. So then it left you ready to see that match, and of course you got to wait. Excuse me, but that day and time has passed us. I miss it a lot, but man, I'm thankful for the WWE Network. We can go back and rewatch it. So that I do like that. So, but Chris, back to the podcast. Flair was awesome with the world title. He had a lot of great matches. And anybody that was able to be there or have been able to see it, I definitely recommend it because Flair and Steamboat always put on the clinic. But this one was definitely a really good match.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a great time. Listen, Tony, I say this every week on the show. It was a great time to be a professional wrestling fan, no matter where wrestling was at that date, time, year, whatever. Hey, it was a great time to be a wrestling fan. And for many of the people listening to us today, they didn't have that luxury of seeing that particular show. And they're watching it either streaming or on a replay or something, and or they're just Googling it now. And back in the day, if you didn't buy it or watch it then, you were out of luck. Now today, I think the fans today, don't realize how lucky they are. They're really just a couple of keystrokes away from almost finding anything in the past, and it's really a lost art.
Yeah. It is, and like you said, in our day, if you didn't see it, you missed it. Now, if you don't see it, you can go back and watch it.
You had to buy a ticket and go down to the box office.
Yeah,
I mean, so now it's just a whole new dimension. It's a whole new game now. Well, I don't want to say game. It's just a whole new strategy of just how things are marketed today and promoted, and kind of almost rolled out to the audience that's listening.
Yeah,
pretty much,
for sure. Yep, it is. So you definitely got to check it out when you get a chance. Well, fans, I think that's going to wrap us up this week for the podcast. Chris and I have broke down the Big Gold Belt, the Eagles Hotel California Tour, and of course Flair Steamboat Trilogy. All in all, Chris, great podcast this week.
Tony, it's been a great podcast. I've had a great time. I've had a crazy week. I'm still recovering from my friend Jill who went to the Eagles concert the other night and everything else, and we're talking wrestling and oh wait, there's the horns going off, and
that's right.
No, she was great, and no, it was a great time, and overall, it was just, I love talking about this stuff. We're kind of going back down memory lane, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do this every week, every other week, and we talk wrestling and where things were at and kind of where things are going. So, hey, but a lot for 2022, and I'm excited. Yeah, and
there's going to be a lot more things the Binge Buster Show is going to get into. I know right now I've been negotiating with a few companies as far as coming on as sponsors, so I'm hoping that's going to pan out here in the next few weeks. And then, of course, the next month, fans, when you tune in next week, it's the month of March, and it's my month. It's my birthday month, and Chris is going to be the host, asking me questions about my wrestling career, how I got started. A lot of people have been wanting to know. They said, "Hey, Tony, you've been doing this podcast now for 3 years. You've had Jake Roberts. You've had Rower Hawk. You've had Teddy Long. You've had a lot of big stars on your show, but we don't know much about you. So I'm going to dedicate the whole month of March. I'm going to have lots of people on that I have worked with, wrestled with. Who knows, Chris? I may have a couple ex-wives on that can tell you. Mm-hmm. No, I won't do that. A
couple ex-wives. God.
We won't go there on those, but because if the ex-wives get on and start talking about Terrific Tony, nobody won't listen to the show anymore. No, I'm just joking. I'm only joking. But
no, you're good.
But it's going to be a good month of March, and who knows? We may have some Binge Buster free gifts for some of our listeners at home. That we might have some trivia. I don't know. But the month of March is going to be exciting. So you're going to have to go and make sure you like us on our Facebook page so that you can stay updated for the whole month of March. And I know at some point in March, Chris, you and I are going to be doing a live podcast. I'm not sure yet if we're going to do it on Facebook Live or some other platform, but we're definitely going to do a live podcast where we can interact with the listeners at home, and they can comment, they can ask questions. So we're definitely going to be I'm looking forward to doing that at some point next month as well.
Tony, I'm excited about the live Facebook podcast. We're going to rock and roll it, and hey, we're going to keep rolling through 2022 and see what comes at us. We're rolling into WrestleMania season right now, and I think a lot of great things are going to happen in the professional wrestling industry in the next 8, 10, 12 weeks. I think the landscape of this industry on a national level can look a whole lot different than how we're talking tonight.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I cannot wait to see how all that pans out.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be good. Well,
absolutely. I think it's going to be an exciting spring season for the professional wrestling industry on a national level, and I think it's going to trickle down on the local level as well.
Yep, I agree with you, Chris, because I know there's some big shows coming up.
Mm-hmm.
In the month of March, the PWF is putting on a huge show there in Clover, South Carolina. So if you fans, make sure you go like their Facebook page. And go to pwflive.com and buy your tickets for their big show featuring the Hardy Boys, Arn Anderson, Ricky Steamboat, and Demolition Axe. And then, of course, the NAWA has got a huge show coming up in March as well. So go to nawa.com and find out more about that as well. Well, fans, for Chris, I'm Tony. We will see you next week here on the Binge Buster Show.
Thank you for listening to the Binge Buster Show. Make sure you like us on Facebook and download us on your favorite podcast platform.